Hey folks, and welcome back here to Ace Run Productions as we bring you the conclusion of the 2023 Innova Myrtle Beach Open presented by Innova Champion Disc. My name is Dustin Murray, and joining me is Nathan Queen, and we have just 9 holes left to go here at the Splinter City Gold Course to determine who will be our 2023 MPO champion. And Nathan Queen, what's it looking like here on the leaderboard right now?
Yeah, 9 holes left, and we have the closest gap I believe we've had for the majority of the weekend here. Braeden Sides up by 3 strokes over Joseph Anderson. Evan Scott and Andrew Marweed making a good push from Chase Card. So final 9 holes going to bring some good action here as the scoring spread still tightening. Hole 3, 330 feet. You've got the idea of 2 gaps here, but the right gap is really going to be the gap players go for. A mid-range or fairway driver, depending on how hard you feel like throwing. And with the righty backhand, you're going to want it to hyzer with just a little bit of stand-up so you don't get a big skip off to the left. The lefty forehand will most likely see from Anthony, you're going to want also some stand-up, but a little more drift off to the left.
This has that slow panning movement you were talking about from Joseph Anderson, so he has chalked this one up nicely.
And that's the way to do it.
Little inside from Braeden Sides, perhaps, but stays near the edge of the circle.
Yeah, straight enough disc that it didn't cause him too much trouble over there on the left side. And Braeden also not quite getting that stand up that you want, but still going to be right there around circle's edge.
Man, this one just didn't really have the height or the drift left that Cale was looking for, so he's going to come up a bit short. Chance for a highlight putt, though, for birdie. Not quite.
Yeah, just a little on the low side, it looked like.
We have a situation where Anthony and Braeden are essentially neighbors over here on this side of the circle, just outside. A little wide right there from Anthony Anselmo.
Yeah, it looks like he had a little bit of obstruction in there. Go with that straddle stance.
And he will collect. And that's a big birdie to get because Joseph is pretty much parked. So that allows him to, maintain that separation of 3 strokes as we head into, these final holes of the tournament.
And a little bit scary on the left side there. You could see him double stare that one down, but is able to collect that par along with Cale here. Going to be looking to get his par.
Yep, no problem. He's been keeping it clean pretty much the whole way through. And there is that birdie that we were anticipating from Joseph Anderson, who filleted this hole off the tee. No doubts about him scoring on this one, as it'll maintain that 3-stroke status as we head into the next hole.
Which is hole 4, a 296-foot par 3. A bit of movement to the right, but a straight shot is going to do you well. If you want to go with the forehand to get that movement off to the right, make sure you push it straight enough to not catch some early trees on the right side.
There's this Rico again from Joseph Anderson. Just trying to shape it down there with the slight turnover, and does so nicely.
Yeah, pretty well executed, just a little bit short, right around circle's edge.
This is that logic from Braeden Sides, but that is going to catch one of those trees on the left, so this is a chance for Anderson to gain some ground.
Anthony does get that one turned over just a little bit early, misses the trees and slides up to right around circle's edge.
Yeah, definitely a tough lefty forehand line.
Yeah, nobody quite as close as you'd like to be yet on this 200 or sub 300 foot hole, as Cale does just slide into circle one there.
So Braeden able to get up and down, but it's still going to be a bit of a tester par putt. But the way he's been putting, still feel pretty good about his chances on that one. Just a little low there from Anthony, so he's going to have to settle for par. And again, this is a chance for Joseph Anderson to grab a stroke. But he is just outside the circle, so he's going to have to hit about a 33, 34 footer. And count it. Slightly left side, but the scorecard's not concerned with that.
Yeah, that left side is liking Joey Buckets today. That one not quite the last chain, but you see him there. Look at it. Giving it a little grin. Knows he needs to start hitting center.
And they do call it a disc catcher, and it is catching discs, so I mean, I don't know.
It is catching those discs. Braeden here needs to make this putt to keep the gap at 2.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming a tight race between those two. Got 7 holes left to go here on this back 9, and it's down to just 2 strokes as we'll pick back up with the action after a short break.
Hole 5, one of the more difficult birdies to grab on the course. 818-foot par 4, following this road pretty much all the way down. Keep it as straight as you can off of the tee shot. And your second shot, you're going to want it to drift to the right just a little bit around the corner. She will eventually find the end of this road, which also leads to where the basket is at, about 30 feet past the end of that road. No OB on this hole, just laying down the path.
Yeah, this would be a wild hole if the road was OB.
This is well high. Gets a nice little kick and then an even nicer little roll out there. Very fortunate to not be in the shoal on the left.
Yeah, that went from looking catastrophic to actually looking pretty solid. And as Cale throws himself a pretty solid shot there in his own right. Good looking line here from Braeden.
Yeah, I like the drift. And the distance on this shot. Gonna have a little bit of stuff to work with on the run up for the second shot. May hinder him from really being able to reach the basket, but great distance off of the tee. This is looking really good from Anthony. Should put him in the middle with an opportunity to attack that green from there.
He's definitely showing some really nice angles, which, is certainly kind of necessary for the way that he plays the game, exclusively throwing lefty forehand so far. Cale will be first to act here on the second shot.
Looks like he was getting aggressive trying to reach this pin, but didn't get the turnover on it. Gonna end up over in the next fairway. Still in bounds, but good bit away from where you'd like to be at.
Nice flex forehand here from Joseph Anderson.
My goodness, he just has effortless power with that forehand. It doesn't look like it's going to keep going, and then it goes another 150 feet.
And that was standstill on a flex around an obstacle, too. I mean, that was just impressive. Equally impressive is this. I mean, tough to catch that edge, but the fact that he nearly had the angle right on the lefty forehand is just nice to see.
Yeah, pretty close on that. Just needed to hang it out a bit wider. So Braeden able to kind of sidestep the woods on the left and get some power on that forehand, but just enough of uncomfortableness there to cause him to pull it left.
Yeah, and this is an opportunity for Joseph Anderson to grab another stroke and maybe put it within one. So definitely keep that in mind, as Cale was able to throw a nice shot to save par on this hole, and pretty much the same thing here from Anthony Anselmo. Braden's got some work to do, though.
Yeah, tried to still give it a good bid for the birdie. Joseph Anderson to get within one.
An opportunity slips through his fingers on that one. Wide right this time after having a couple of close calls on the left-hand side.
Yeah, maybe an overcorrection type of thing there. You know, didn't want to test that left side again like that, and ends up thinking about the right side too much.
No, it's a fair assessment, I think. So, a little bit of an opportunity missed, but it's still, you know, it's only 2-stroke separation. There's still 6 holes to go, so still really anyone's game. Although I will say some of the others are starting to run out of time. You know, they really need to start grabbing birdies here, especially if you're Cale or Anthony, to have any chance at threatening the lead that Braeden has. So it's going to kind of do or die time for them for the win.
And one of the places you have to, or you feel like you have to get that birdie is hole 6, 210-foot par 3. Kind of a forehand shot for the intended line, little bit of a high nose-up flex. Backhand shot also does play, but the gaps down at the end are a bit tighter and a lot more likely that you'll end up in circle 2.
Yeah, definitely one of those holes you'd love to grab just because of the short distance, but still forces a technical line.
And there is that kind of nose-up stolly flex shot from Joseph Anderson, going to leave it about 23, 24 feet.
Just a little backhand putter shot here from Cale, but that's going to get caught up very early. So we'll have to settle for par on this one and starting to put him out of that striking distance for the win. And oh no.
Yeah, Braeden also catching early. There's not too much trouble to find on this one. Scrambling for par, fairly simple. But man, you really, especially in a position like Braeden, and you really want to get that tee shot off. And man, I tried to say it was going to be fairly simple, but he is over here well off of the fairway and back behind the next tee box. I didn't realize he got so far over here.
Yeah, this is a nightmare because now this is not only a chance for Anderson to grab 1 stroke, it could be an opportunity to grab 2 strokes. With that said, a very nice upshot there to limit the damage.
Yeah, hopefully so. Still has a bit of a tester left. Cale trying to give this one a run from halfway down the fairway. Just gonna lay it up. A bit of a disappointing par there.
And oh no, Braeden Sides. One of the first real miscues we've seen this close to the basket.
Yeah, definitely on the putting green. The only other miscue I can really think of was hole 1. But none of that was putting, and we now are tied. Just like that, on the easy hole, everybody's supposed to birdie. 2-stroke swing.
Indeed. We'll have Braeden and Joseph Anderson both at 26 under par. Cale, 5 strokes behind with 5 holes to play. So he'd kind of have to birdie out and hope for some mistakes from his competitors to try to put himself into the mix. But as it stands, it is a very tight duel between Braeden Sides and Joseph Anderson.
Yeah, what a swing. Moves us to hole 7, 263-foot par 3. Maybe a similar shape to the last hole, but more difficult to execute. Kind of that nose-up, stolly flex shot with a forehand. Righty backhand just doesn't seem to get to the circle. Not impossible, but 40 feet, typically going to be the best you get with the righty backhand. This looks great.
Oh, a touch inside. Gonna catch one of the pines. Still leaves him an open look at the basket, but from a decent distance away. That's gonna be a long putt.
Yeah, just a little bit more flex off to the left on that. And my goodness,
Just
still going with that lefty forehand. Gonna probably that. It seems like that would be even tougher to get.
he's like the lefty Chandler Kramer.
As Cale sneaking inside those two trees is gonna get inside circle one. That's not a line that you see hit too often. It's hard to get inside of those two trees and keep flying.
Braeden does it as well, it looked like.
Well, all right, I guess I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think they just hit some very difficult righty backhand shots there. Ooh, just short from Anthony. Long putt here for Joseph Anderson.
Yeah, and if there's a time to hit a long putt,
it's now.
this is
oh boy.
Oh my goodness. Joseph Anderson got a taste of that lead. Let's run it back to see if he can get that solo lead. This is 75 feet.
Wow. He had that one little misstep where he hit wide right for a chance at closing the gap. And then from that point, though, he has not looked back. And oh, no, Cale. Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, great putt there from Cale. Doing a little bit of dancing to get back out of that basket. That's a disappointing thing to see, especially for Cale at this point. But Braeden able to answer that huge putt there from Joseph Anderson, and we still have a tie at the top.
Yeah, but a lot of credit has to be given for Anderson to be able to maintain that, considering how far away he was on that putt. But yeah, he is 4 down through 5 here to kick off the back 9. A tight race for the top. We'll kick off some more after a short break.
The Toro is really good for short backhand and forehanded approaches. I really love it when the wind picks up a little. I can trust it to still fade towards the basket. Developing the Toro with Dave, I was looking for a low profile, slow disc that was good for forehand and backhand approaches. And through several iterations, we finally landed on this disc. You know, having my name on it, it's just, you know, the cherry on top.
All right, hole 8, and we're turning around and have a slight left finish on this hole, 320-foot par 3. You want to get just around this light pole that you see, go to the right of it, again with that kind of nose-up stolly angle so that you can slow down before you get to these trees you see on the right and fade back towards the basket. If you don't have that nose up, it's pretty easy to push long and not get that finish, leave yourself a 40-50 footer.
And now the pressure is on for every single shot left here on these final 4 holes. But Joseph Anderson looks to put a good move on this one. Absolutely pinned.
We're tired of making those long putts. Let's run back a drive instead.
I mean, this is just flawless.
Let's get that nice nose up stall shot.
Man.
Flawless, like you said, underneath the basket.
Can't ask for better than that, really. And now Braeden Sides knows he has to match.
Looking pretty similar here. Just a little bit more height, and it is going to end up catching something along the way.
Forehand not quite making it around the bend there from Anthony. Cale also gets caught up.
Cale also Yeah, just a bit inside. Gonna leave them long looks at this one.
Yeah, and with that, you feel, unless something catastrophic happens, Cale probably out of it at this point.
Yeah. I think kind of that spit out on the last hole may have done that for Cale. We've got these two players at the top definitely starting to distance themselves.
A little bit of a tricky situation here from Anthony, but able to get up and down for his par. Big putt here for Braeden Sides to try to keep himself neck and neck with Joseph, who's parked.
Yeah, I kind of switched roles from the last hole here. See if Braden's able to keep up.
And count it. Braeden Sides, unfazed by his lead, withering away, fights back to keep this thing tied up. Beautiful putt there on the right-hand side. Just what the doctor ordered.
Huge pressure.
Exactly. Wow. We got ourselves a nice duel on our hands here, Nathan.
Yeah, trading big putts to trading high fives afterwards. Cale scared his par putts falling out, but that one stayed in there. Man, this is some exciting stuff for the offseason, don't you?
Oh,
think?
absolutely, man. I mean, again, you kind of have a guy like Joseph Anderson, who is a young up-and-comer out of Athens, Georgia. 1030 rated, has already had some good results on the tour. He had a second place finish at Kansas City Wide Open this year, 5th at Mid-America Open, was top 12 at USDGC. He's also top 20 at the MVP Open, so he's proven he's got some chops on tour. And then you have a guy like Braeden Sides, who did beat Chris Dickerson earlier this year at the Tennessee State Championship. So, yeah, it's like these youth are showing that they can fight, man.
Yeah, and Braeden has yet to give up the lead this weekend so far. As we move into hole 9, 428-foot par 3, likely the most difficult par 3 on the course, other than reaching hole 16, which is pretty far. But tough gap to hit, righty backhand turnover or hyzer flip is really going to be the best play to reach the pin, but very difficult to execute. This needs to be drifting just a little bit more right. Still going to give him a circle 2 look possibly, though.
Yeah. At the very least, he's got the par in the bag from that position. Braeden, good move on this, but just a little too high. Gonna catch that ceiling.
Yeah, kind of like hole 8. They both threw a similar line, but Braden's was just a bit higher. And Anthony following those same trails as Joseph, gonna end up about the same spot.
It seems like this hole is going to kind of just keep the status quo going into the next 2 holes. I mean, there's an outside chance Joseph could find himself a birdie putt from the rough, but it seems like we're going to be looking at a lot of pars here.
Yes, indeed. This hole does bring a lot of pars and a few bogeys around as well.
Cale trying to in with some flair here with the putt, but just short. And yeah, there is a slight look here for Joseph Anderson, but it will be no easy task.
And just inches away there from the solo lead for the first time on the event. Gonna have to settle for the par.
That's a good point that you made. Braeden, of course, shot the hot round of the tournament, round 1 with 12 under par. I think he shot just 1 stroke behind the hot round, round 2, still maintaining like a 2 or 3 stroke lead. And yeah, as you said, he will continue to maintain a lead, or a share of it at least, going into the final 2 holes.
Yeah, and we just had 1 birdie on the day here on hole 9. Nathaniel Johnson able to card up the lone 2.
Can certainly see why there wasn't very many birdies on this hole. Definitely a tough shape.
2 holes to go. We have 2 players tied for the lead. Moving into hole 10, another difficult par 3 to get the birdie on, 408 feet. You've got a gap to hit, maybe 130 or so feet off of the tee, that also has a low ceiling, making it more difficult to get the distance on this shot. Once you do get that distance, you've probably thrown a distance driver because of the low ceiling, so now hopefully you don't skip way away on this fast green as well. But great par 3. Good one coming down the stretch. We'll see if we can get a couple birdies.
Oh boy, this is a great shot from Joseph Anderson. Really nicely shaped. Like you said, a little bit long on that speed control, but that's just so tough to do when you're trying to get through the low ceiling. And
this is going to catch that tree. Braeden not making the gap.
Is that OB?
It is not
okay.
OB. Very well could be, but in this situation, it is not.
Either way, you feel like there's a great chance that Anderson's going to grab a stroke here.
And look at this shot from Anthony.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Beautiful lefty forehand.
He has definitely shown that he has got some angles to him, which is something you kind of have to have if you're going to be a, forehand only guy. And he's definitely shown that he's got it.
Yeah, if you're going to, junior world champion, you're going to have some angles.
I mean, I'm not beyond the line. Okay.
And you have to imagine there's some discussion taking place, with it having cross sidewalk, which would generally mean OB in a lot of scenarios, but I guess in this situation it was not.
Yeah, not OB. He has pitched up and down, looking to come away with a par after, I'm sure, what feels like a very long discussion of whether or not you still have an opportunity to win.
Joseph Anderson had a chance to grab birdie and maybe take the solo lead there, but we'll have to settle for par, and so it will remain even going to the final hole.
Yeah, and he's had a few of those this round now. Not that any of them were super close, but he has had a few of those opportunities to kind of change that momentum and get it moving in his direction. But as you said, here we are going into the final hole. Joseph Anderson, Braeden Sides tied for the lead. Braeden still yet to forfeit that lead for the entire event. This is the closest anybody has been to him. Just one hole left.
Shout out to Anthony for a rare birdie on that one, but yeah, one hole left to go, and we're still tied up. We'll be right back after the final break.
Here we are, hole 11, 503-foot par 4 with an opportunity for the eagle here. If either one of these guys are feeling froggy and want to win in regulation, they have the opportunity to go for this island green. It's about 410 feet to carry and get onto that green. Pretty tight on the left side, makes it very difficult to decide to go for it. Likely to see 4 putter or mid-range layups and then pitch up for the easy birdie. Interested to see what we'll see here.
I mean, you could think that both players think, hey, this is a tough hole to go for the win on, and they might both lay up and just try to carry this on to a playoff.
Yeah, and Joseph Anderson has made his decision. He is playing for the birdie. Braeden Sides now has the choice in his hands. This doesn't look very aggressive.
No, mid in hand. So, yeah, he's definitely thinking the same thing Joseph is. This is not the hole that you want to decide things on. Now, granted, you still got to finish the job. I mean, you still have to throw a good approach shot and hit a putt. So, under the pressures of the win, things could still get a little bit interesting here.
Four drives off, 4 drives inbounds, walking down the fairway together. Wonder if there's any razzing going on.
Yeah, I mean,
Unlikely.
yeah, it does seem like there's been a lot of camaraderie here between these two throughout the coverage that we've seen thus far. But I also have to say, I think both players made the right decision on this hole. I don't think you want to throw your tournament away here, you know, trying to go for a crazy island carry.
Yeah, I agree with that. Very tough to make that decision. If the OB over on the left side was a little bit wider,
Yeah.
then it might be worth it. But it seems like if you do get across and catch any type of skip, you end up OB.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in their minds, they think, man, take fate into your own hands. Go for the win. You know, don't leave it up to your opponent to steal it from you or something. But there are scenarios like this one where just the way the hole is shaped and designed that it makes it a lot harder to make that call. And so...
And Joseph Anderson left a little bit more than the liking. He's going to be out there kind of 27, 28 feet with a bit of an elevated basket. Braeden has an opportunity to put some pressure on him here if he puts this up on the wood.
Of course, he's facing his own pressures by needing to execute this shot, but lives up to it, even kisses off the stand there a little bit.
Yeah, should be pretty simple putt there. I think he stayed inside 20. So about 26, 27 feet here. And able to connect on it. Joseph Anderson hits the putt when it mattered the most.
It's looking like a playoff, Nathan. It's looking a lot like one.
It's looking like it. We have a bit of a putt left for Braeden, but nothing out of the ordinary.
No. Nice finish here from Anthony Anselmo, by the way, going 3 down through the final 6 holes. As Braeden does hit the putt, maybe not as confident as he would have wanted, but it's enough to get him to the playoff against Joseph Anderson.
Yeah, that catches 96% of the time, but you know that 4% was in his brain as soon as he let go.
So Cale will finish things off 22 under par. Just 1 stroke ahead of Anthony Anselmo. So both of those players will find themselves certainly in the cash and with a pretty good finish for the tournament, but it will come down to Braeden Sides versus Joseph Anderson for the playoff.
Yeah, Joseph Anderson tying the hot round that Braeden shot on day 1.
Braeden first. All right. And alternate all the way.
So Braeden either won or lost the coin toss, and he's going to go first.
Does seem to be the case as we are now back to hole 12, sudden death playoff here.
At 390 feet straight ahead with the OB just behind the basket. Braeden started off the round with the bogey here. Be looking to turn that around.
Oh, and that gets caught up. That's going to be a long putt for birdie. So there's a chance here for Joseph Anderson if he throws a good shot. Got the Lutz in hand, the fairway driver.
To start off Joseph's round, he put this 25 feet left and got the birdie. This is almost a replay of his drive. Looking to be right around circle's edge. Braeden up first with the 55, 60 footer to try to put some pressure.
Yeah, needs to hit this to guarantee himself moving on to another playoff hole. Other than that, fate will be out of his hands if he's unable to connect. But like you said, this is a long one. This is, I mean, right near the edge of circle, too. But he will sink it. What a putt.
And a huge putt there from Braeden Sides. We know we got to run that one back.
Oh, my goodness. That was picture perfect. Nice hyzer entry right into the heart of the basket. Well over the top of the rim, and that is going to guarantee that this, from his side at least, goes one more. But still, not an easy putt for Joseph Anderson after watching that one.
Yeah, put some big pressure back on Joseph now.
But he delivers.
missed a couple of those during the rounds, but the left side of the chains yet again helping Joseph Anderson out during this Myrtle Beach Open.
So we go at least one more, returning to hole 11. So it seems like this is like not the natural just playing in order. It seems like they do have a particular hole rotation they're using for this playoff. And just like last hole of regulation, neither player going for it here.
Right. This may just be a loop
Could be.
Of 12-11. I know it goes right back to it as both of these players going back to their play to finish the round. Again, Joseph Anderson leaving himself that tester putt right around the edge of the circle.
You're absolutely right. He has done that. Good open gap here for Braeden Sides to make his approach. Probably the tactic or something in hand, I'd have to imagine. He himself throws it low.
Oh, and this is low.
Yeah.
Yeah, big mistake. Unforced error there. On the 11th, he's now left himself another circle 2 look to try to keep this playoff going. Or to try to force Joseph to make about a 28-footer.
But not to be thwarted. Braeden Sides hits another big putt, and he has done his part to keep this playoff going. But as you have noted, Joseph Anderson has himself not the easiest look to keep it going in his own right. But don't tell him that right in the center. These players just look unfazed.
Yeah, it's like these guys want a putt from 28 and 36 feet. This is wild.
I guess so. Pick up with more playoff action after a short break.
Quit being stuck in the past. Check out the new and improved website at infinitediscs.com.
And so here we go, our third hole of the playoff, and as we thought, it is that loop of 11 and 12. And so we're back on 12, which is a tricky 390-foot shot here for these players. Oh no, that's very early.
Yeah, just too much height on that one, but actually still gets some good flight, and it looks like he's going to have a similar distance putt to just a couple holes ago. Oh, this looks like it's corrected from Joseph Anderson, and he is not going to be 25 feet on this one.
No, absolutely not.
This is, yeah, there's a little bit more pressure on this one from Braeden Sides.
It's also longer, I feel like, than the last time around.
Already made a 60-footer on this one. Yeah, it does seem to be about that 70, 75-foot mark. This is to push the playoff. Joseph pretty much in tap-in range now.
Oh, just a little bit deep and wide right. And so now it's up to Joseph Anderson. About a 15-ish foot putt for the win. And that will do it. Braeden Sides held the lead for so long. In fact, basically the entire tournament in regulation, but it goes to a playoff and Anderson gets the job done.
Yeah, right now is the first time Braeden Sides has lost the lead.
I'm happy to present your 2023 Innova Disc Myrtle Beach Open MPO champion, Joey Anderson.
As Joey Anderson makes the comeback. Fourth card to lead card. And then able to close it out in the playoff form.
Shout out to Chad for making this tournament possible. It was really well ran and very smooth. I'm happy to just be battling with Braeden. He's such a good competitor and a really, really great friend. And then shout out to my sponsors, Castle Class and Down South Discs. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome stuff, Joey. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, again, we saw him earlier this year put together some good results on a Disc Golf Pro Tour at a couple of silver events, as well as coming 12th at a major at USDGC and top 20 at a playoff event at the MVP Open. And now he comes and finds a win against a pretty solid field here out in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So props to him, and doing it in a playoff just to add a little extra spice to it all, a little extra pressure to everything. And shout out to him as Braeden Sides will take second. Marweed will grab a podium spot from the chase card, 2400 par. Grady Shue also jumping into that top 5 mark. You saw the leaderboard there. Again, folks, make sure that you subscribe to Ace Run Productions and hit the bell for notifications for future coverage. Also, be sure to follow Ace Run Productions out on Instagram and Twitter for updates on their coverage throughout the year as they work with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, as well as independent events just like this one. Again, shout out to all the competitors for a great tournament. I am Dustin Murray. You can follow me at Follow Dust on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Dustin Disc Golf on YouTube. Nathan Queen, where folks can find you at?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram in Queen_68286. And make sure you check out some of my gear over at Dark Ace Apparel.
There you go. And folks, we appreciate you so much for tuning in. Until next time, have a good one.